welcome back to the podcast and welcome. Wow, we're off to a great start. Bridgette Boucha, I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. Bridgette, how are you?
I am great and I'm looking forward to this conversation. So thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thank you for taking the time. For those that don't know you yet, would you mind telling us a little bit about you and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So as Eden said, I'm Bridgette Boucher. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. Been here most of my adult life. I grew up like many people that are on this podcast, going through life transitions, creatively deconstructing their life and building it back the way they want it. I'm one of your poster children. So I
Love.
actually have an accounting and finance background. I grew up in corporate. The story to that is much more deep, but the short story is I left corporate, made a pretty untraditional decision to go out on my own. Ultimately found a whole roller coaster of ups and downs and emotions and different things that come with that loss of quote unquote identity. And I've been an entrepreneur for 9 years. It's taken a lot of different turns. I do fractional CFO work. So I support a lot of scaling business owners that are just kind of underserved. I have a little bit more of a soulful approach. So the people that kind of identify with that, building your life around your business and just making these decisions that might not feel all that supported in your life. Entrepreneurs need that muscle and they need the support, and money becomes a mystery to a lot of people. So it was kind of like my entrepreneurial gift back of I don't know how to do all the marketing and the promotion and all those things when I started, but I do know the financial part of it. And so how can we kind of combine forces and support each other? And so it's been an amazing journey. I'm so grateful to be where I am right now because I wasn't actually going to start my business until 2025. That was like my year I was going to leave corporate. You can't unsee it. You start early. You start 9 years early.
We
And
love. Oh my gosh, what made you set such a far away date? Like, what was the magic of 2025? Like, when did you set that date? What was the reasoning?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So it was, I had gotten divorced. I was just almost 30 years old at the time.
Mhm.
And I remember meeting with my financial advisor and saying, okay, I just want to shove money away because at one point I want work to be optional. I want it
Mm.
to feel like I could do something that I was passionate about but get paid for. But I grew up in just a very structured education job kind of thing. And it just, nobody was really doing that in my world. So in my mind, logically, as a fiscally responsible person, I was like, well, 2025, that sounds great. I'll be like 45 years old and
Mhm.
I will be able to go and do it then. But the challenge with that is, as anybody knows, and you yourself, you know a little bit about your background, which I love, you know what it feels like when your body's telling you something different. Like, I don't care how we're going to get there. I don't care who's going to say no or not believe in me, even if it's myself. And when you start to envision, in my case, 2025, you can't really unsee it. And you start to pick up on all these other masterminds and programs and entrepreneurship, and you're listening to your body and you're tuning in. And these are things I just never did. I felt very much like a logical person. And now I'm like, get me out of this. Like, let me build something the way that I want it. And I don't care how scary it is. And I don't care who believes in me or not. It was just time. So 2025 was a logical date. And now that
Okay.
I'm in 2025, how symbolic. Like, I love 2025. I'm like, thank God I did it back then because now I get to experience all the things I've already learned and build on those.
That's, oh my God, I love that. I also, there's something so powerful to me about like people that set dates and then do it way before. Like I was like that with my divorce. I was like, I will give myself permission to get divorced in summer of 2020. And I woke up one day in the fall of 2019 and was like, I don't know why, but it's got to be right now. And that was right before the pandemic hit. And so I think there's something really magical about your body being tapped into just God knows what and just being like, no, sorry, you're doing it now. Like you're actually going to do it now. And I think it's really powerful to see that you listen to it because not a lot of people do. It's easy to be like, nope, let's stick with the safety of like what we've set and what we know and what we can work towards. So one, I hope you're very proud of yourself and congratulations. That's on nearly 10 years. Is it 10 years this year in 2025?
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty crazy. Well, it'll be 10 years in January, but
Okay.
it looks totally different every single year.
Hmm.
If you do it right the first time, like, did you really get it right? Probably not.
No. I want to hear more about like the beginning stages of your business because I, so in my own experience, I started my self-employment journey serving clients, like just regular people, not other businesses. I kind of grew into a business that served other businesses. What was it like to be starting a new business that serves other businesses? Like, was it weird to be in a state of like figuring it out yourself while also helping other people figure it out? I'm like, is that me projecting? Because that's how I would feel. Like, what were
Mhm.
the beginning days like?
Oh gosh, yeah. For anybody who's made a transition, career or otherwise, yeah, listen up because mine was not, I mean, it was a complete shit show. And here's why, because when I left corporate, I just associated finance and my CFO title as burnout. And so I actually
Mm,
wanted nothing to do with money or or CFOing or strategy. I actually swung the pendulum so far the other way, which I think a lot of us do, because we're like, well, if this isn't it, I got to go the other direction and I got to go fast. And so I took a couple months off in the beginning because I was like, okay, I'm just going to silence my environment for a little bit. And I truly kind of thought that I was going to go back into corporate refreshed. But again, your body tells you different. So I did things like I did network marketing, I ran fitness groups, I taught boot camp. I was a corporate wellness consultant for a while. I walked dogs. Like I did a lot in like 6 or 7 months right after before I realized, okay, I've got to actually do something. What is it? Where am I feeling called? And so those first couple years were around getting contract CFO jobs. I didn't change enough. Like I still was working for kind of smaller corporate businesses, but I just had more bosses, more invoicing to do. I was over delivering, undercharging. Like it just, none of it. I thought, what did I do all this for? This doesn't feel right either. And so a couple of years in, it was back in 2019, actually. I joined my first mastermind. I didn't even know what it was. I was listening to a podcast. Somebody was talking about this mastermind full of entrepreneurs and this big investment, and it involved travel and all those things. And so that was the change of the trajectory of how I realized I wanted to show up. Like I didn't have to abandon all my skill sets, I just had to repackage them
mm,
in order to bring more of me in it. And that's when it all started coming together. And I was like, oh, great. So then I teamed up with, I started adding to my team to support entrepreneurs because I recognized there was such a deficit in support. And these people were so amazing in this mastermind. And I've been in several since, but they just froze when it came to finances. They were like, this is the year I'm going to get my financial shit together. But it's like the last thing that they wanted to do or spend time doing. And so ultimately, that first version of the business, as I mentioned before, like if you do it right the first time, did you really do it right? Probably not. And we didn't. We thought we had this offer that people wanted. And in the end, money is just an energy. People want a safe space to talk about it. They want to learn about it in peace. They don't
mm,
want to feel judged. They want honest answers, but also supportive energy. And I just feel like that has evolved over time. And that was probably, so yeah, going on 6 years now in this version. We've been adding to our team, we've been kind of niching down and onboarding. And one of the things that I really realized when you do find that mission and you find that alignment, you want to help everybody, right? But not everybody's for you.
mm,
I'm not for everybody. I don't even pretend I am. But one of the things that I recognize is these patterns. I was like, okay, there's an entrepreneurial pattern. There's an avoidance, right? There's underpricing. There's unworthiness. There's no cadence of like really
mm,
having a money relationship. And so what I ended up doing was, okay, I can't help everybody, but I can put all this into a book and I can write a book. And I can't be on every stage, every podcast, in every room, in every meeting, but my book can. And so that was a big thing that I launched that, I guess, in 2023. And that was a big piece of part of my getting clarity on what my process is, sharing some of my own story, because it's definitely a personal story as well. I mean, look at the name of this
mm,
podcast. It's
mhm,
we're all one source. We got
mhm.
to quit compartmentalizing ourselves. It's exhausting.
No, truly. What I haven't spoken to a lot of authors. First of all, I'm like, I think it's so admirable. So, congratulations on your launch a couple years ago. I'm like, that is such a huge undertaking. And, like, from an outside perspective of someone that's never done that, I'm like, it sounds and looks very daunting to be like, let me get everything out that I need to, but also in a concise and tangible and digestible way. What made you decide, like, did the idea for a book just come to you? Like, did you talk to other authors? Like, how did you get started on being an author? Because the pipeline from like corporate CFO, money, like accounting, like all of that stuff to author is very
Mhm.
non-traditional. So what was that like?
Yeah, I think, I am a avid traveler. It's one of the things that light me up the most. I started solo traveling internationally in 2019, coincidentally. When all this, everything changed. 2019, what a great year, right? Leading up to the pandemic. But for me,
Oh
it
my
was
God.
really transformative. And so it was actually on one of my trips. It was a mastermind over in Italy, and I was talking to a mentor of mine about how I knew I had a book in me, and I just didn't know, like, I couldn't really get unstuck with it. I journal like crazy. I
Mm.
love to write. That's kind of how I process. And he said, "Hey, I'd like to introduce you to somebody who's a book coach who was in his network." And I interviewed a couple different book coaches because I knew for me, I would get stuck in the details and I wanted to let out the creative side. I wanted to really
Mhm.
own the story and hear the words and figure out exactly what I wanted to share that didn't feel too heavy because the book is called Money Queen. And so it's for soulful entrepreneurs and it's part story, part strategy, it's part logic and it's part magic. And it's
Mm.
an easy read and it's just one of those things that I wanted to pull together, but I didn't have that clarity and I needed someone to kind of pull it out of me. And so I interviewed two. I ended up going with the one that I was like, I need a kick in the pants. Like, I can't let this linger. I got shit to do. I got things going on. I want to get this out. And so in hiring him, I invested in myself. I invested in my accountability and I bet on me. But I have to think about all the details. I have to think
Wow.
about what do I do after it? How do I record it on Audible? And what does the outline need to be? What are the page? Like, I don't want to think about any of that. I want to
Mhm.
stay in this zone. And so I pumped it out in about 6 months.
Wow.
And then it went through all the editing. And then I did a four-city book tour. And that happened in September 2023 was when the book launched. And then I recorded it on Audible just last January. And I will tell you one thing about, we all have a story in us. It just depends on if you want to share it. Like you being able
Mhm.
to have this platform and sharing your life truths helps so many because we then know we're not alone, right? And there's
Mhm.
power in that and there's bravery and I commend you for that. And I think in this specific instance, it was really interesting to kind of circle back to the personal side of it. It was when I was recording it for Audible. I don't think a lot of authors go back and read their own book, but
Mhm.
when you narrate it, you sure as hell do.
Mhm.
And I started reading chapters about alignment and people and energy and all the things that I was writing. And I realized it was time for me to flip my world upside down again. And so last year I ended
Mm.
a 13-year relationship.
Wow.
So, round two of creatively deconstructing my life and
Mhm.
uprooting it and saying, I'm going to build it back the way that I want it. This is what feels right in my body. And it's hard and it's hurtful. And so it's just been such a transitionary couple, maybe 18 months. Not just for me, for a lot of people, for a lot of different reasons. But what I will tell you is you can't edit your story unless you're looking at it, even if you
Wow.
wrote it.
Yeah, no, that's so powerful. And I think like that's something we don't talk about enough is like going back and almost like honoring and re-listening to past versions of ourselves. I think time moves so quickly and like we it moves so quickly and yet it feels like nothing's changing because it's just like our day-to-day lives and we are so lucky to like live in a day and age where there are tangible messages from like past versions of us, which is really crazy when you think about it. And I'm like, that's a topic for another day, like how insane that is. But I think that's something we don't talk about enough, that like, yes, we're probably on hopefully some sort of climb of progress throughout our lives. Like I think we'd all like to and would strive to get better with time, but that doesn't mean that past versions of ourselves are not worth listening to and honoring and like have things to teach us that maybe we've forgotten with time. So I think that's so cool. That's so powerful to like have that there and have to like go through it again to narrate. Was it scary? Did it like change things in you? Like, what was kind of the emotional process of like having to verbalize this thing that you had written out? Like, I'm like, the podcast is so like off the cuff that I've never had to like say out loud things I wrote in the past or like built in the past. And I'm like, that seems very intimidating almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was just very much cathartic. Like I believe in my own words. I wrote them,
Mm.
obviously. And it just so happened that when I came back to them, I didn't feel as in alignment as if I was making the decisions that were going to allow me to live that way. And I just felt a little bit out of integrity if I had stayed. And,
Mm,
sometimes we have to make those hard decisions. And, for anybody in any relationship in any season of life, starting over, it's a big deal. On one hand, you kind of have this clean slate, and there's some amazingness in finding solitude being your sacred time, and you don't, you enjoy it. And I'm a dog mama, so I got two Frenchies, and they are just my world, and I love them to death. And there are times where I was like, well, shit, it's Sunday and I woke up early. I got a lot of hours in the day with no plans, right?
mhm,
So you just kind of allow yourself to feel through all of that because ultimately it's going to just make you stronger. I mean, I've always been an independent person. I mentioned I solo travel, and my
mhm,
mom still doesn't get it. She's like, you did not get that from me. But it's something that lights me up. It allows me to feel like I'm living a fuller life, like I'm super
mhm,
alive and I'm experiencing new cuisine and cultures and all those things. And I was even doing that when I was married. So it's like I was kind of maybe always priming myself a little bit for
mm,
this next season. And, I think I'm still in it. I mean, I'm grateful that he and I are pretty good friends after
mhm,
it's all said and done,
mhm,
which isn't always the case. But I think yeah, I think you just tap into it. You listen to your body. You have to really do what's right for you in the end. Like, a lot of times I'll tell myself I'm gonna make a big decision. Like if I wake up 7 days in a row, and I feel the same way all 7 days, right? That
mhm,
is something that is really telling to me
mm,
because oh my gosh, I heard this metaphor on a podcast the other day. I think it was Matthew Hussey. Do you know who he is?
mm-mm,
Matthew Hussey, relationship guy, and it's great. But he was talking, I think it was him, the broken clock syndrome, how a broken clock is right twice a day. And so sometimes in relationships or jobs or life, we wait for those two times for it to feel right, even knowing that it's broken all the way around. And it hit
mhm,
me like a ton of bricks. And I was like, oh my gosh, what a great reminder to all of us that it should be the other way around. Maybe it's broken twice a day and not the other, full. Yeah. So anyway, I thought that was really fascinating. And I just feel like when you make decisions that allow you to trust yourself a little bit more, it gives you a little pep in your step, a little bit of excitement in your life. Like, oh, what could I do? I've been living in Atlanta for 20 some years. I don't need to live here. I haven't left yet, but I travel a heck of a lot. So, it just
yeah,
opens up your eyes a little bit more. And I know you've moved around a bit and
mhm.
experienced other things that your environment will allow you to tap into different areas of yourself. And, good for you for doing that. I'm not saying that's for
Thank
everybody,
you.
but shit, it was for you.
Yeah, it's for me. And I think like along with what you're saying, I think it's really powerful to kind of start building that trust with yourself that you can make big moves, like in whatever capacity that looks like for you. But I think sometimes, especially with the access that we have to the internet, like it looks like people just wake up and they do this big thing and it's super easy and they change their life around and we don't get access to like all the work and like all the emotions and all the mental breakdowns that like went into making that decision. But one of the beautiful things about like frequently taking big risks or changing your life, or even just like little things where you start going out of your way to trust yourself, is that it is a relationship that you build with your intuition and that you build with yourself. Like 5 years ago, I moving around was the scariest thing in the world. Like my move from Utah to LA post divorce, I was like, "Oh my God, like this is crazy. I've never lived alone as an adult." Like it was mind-blowing. Whereas now I move states and like I'm stressed about packing my U-Haul, but like I'm not stressed about getting there and building a life. Like I'm like, "Oh no, I know how to do that. I've done that several times now." And that's not because it's easy. That's because I've built that relationship with myself and I trust myself to make those things happen. So I think that's really powerful that you've made so many big moves. What has been something you've learned about yourself or that you've really learned about your life and the way that you want to live it since ending that big relationship? That is a huge move. It's life altering, which I know goes without saying, but I'm like, I want to give you props where it's due because I'm like, that is massive. It's so scary. It's so hard. And you discover, oh my gosh, the self discovery post divorce is like one of the craziest things I've personally ever experienced. Like, I don't know how else to it's like one of those things that you can't describe unless you've been through it. Like it's really, really crazy. But you learn so much about yourself and your life and what you want out of it. What have some of your favorite lessons been or like things that you've learned? What does that look like for you?
I think it does give you the opportunity to learn to trust yourself again because you do kind of find yourself in a position as a result of a decision you made. And I have no regrets on that relationship. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying when things don't work out, whether it's a career, a relationship, a move, whatever it is, you're kind of like, do we trust ourselves to make another decision right now, or should we chill
Hmm.
out for a little bit? And so going out on my own because I did move out, and setting up my new space and my new environment and all of those things, it really allowed me to deepen some friendships that were always there, but for some reason, when you're in a relationship, like they're there and you might take it for granted, but you don't nurture them. And I feel like I had amazing different friend groups that kind of came out of the woodwork, would fly to Atlanta or we'd meet up for a girls' trip or whatever we would do, or just pick up the phone and call. And I really value those people in my life because I think that love is just so vast. Like it doesn't have to be a romantic partner. It can be all these other people that you say, I love you at the end of a phone call, and it's your best friend from college, or, even just tapping back into some family dynamics. And I mean, I moved from Minnesota. I was originally from Minnesota. I moved when I was 23 for a job, and I was going to be here like 2 years. And surprise, still here, 20 some years later. But you get to kind of tap into and put energy into the relationships that feel like they're circulating it back, right? Sometimes
Hmm.
I wear the shoe, sometimes you wear the shoe, and we're having a bad day or whatnot. But ultimately, it's a nurturing relationship from both sides. It's
Hmm.
cyclical. And
Hmm.
so I love the social part of my life right now because I'm intentional. I almost have to be intentional. Look, I could like not leave the house for a day or two and be like, have I driven this week? Like, because I work from home. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's not like I have to go into an office or leave. And so I have to be really intentional about that. And the second part of that, which is kind of like this balance, I feel, is I do enjoy my solitude a lot more. I enjoy the fact that I don't have to think about what to cook for dinner and I can have something super light or heavy or whatever. And the independence part of my travel is still there. And so that part never changed. I didn't feel like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go on an international trip and I'm going to be by myself. Like I feel like that was kind of guiding me and priming me for that, even though I didn't
Hmm.
know it at the time. So
Hmm.
I'm leaving next Monday. I'm gone for another 2 weeks and I'm like, peace
Love.
out. Here we go.
I love that. I love being able to like, yeah, look back and be like, I didn't know that this was prepping me for this, but it was. It was the same for me with all my weddings were basically destination when I was married. And so I was traveling alone constantly for work. And so yeah, when we split, I was like, oh yeah, I'm chilling. Like life is not really changing logistically. Like I'm still
Yes.
doing the same things. Have you introduced anything like really new into your life that you're excited about?
I think one of the things that at least it ignited in me is being open to try new things. It could be
Mm.
something as small as pickleball, right? Like pickleball's all the rage, right? And I love it. And I haven't played as much, but I've started that. I also took 2 trips to El Salvador and went surfing. Never surfed in my life. Took lessons,
Love.
went twice last summer. Just, I remember I didn't ski until I didn't even try skiing. And I'm from Minnesota. Like I didn't even try skiing until I turned 40. And it was out in Telluride, Colorado, which is beautiful. And I loved it. And I've gone several years since. And I thought, what else am I not doing that I would love? And so really
Mm.
just being open to that sense of adventure and curiosity, I think, is something that I'm more excited and more open to now. You realize sometimes it can feel like this just second wave of energy because, in truth, when you're in a relationship that isn't going as well, it's draining a lot of your energy that you kind of don't even realize until you're on the other side of it and outside of it, I should say. And then you get that energy back and you get to choose what to do with it. Like, how cool is that?
I love the question, what am I not doing that I could love? Like, that's such an amazing question to ask ourselves. I think we're such routine-based creatures that like and comfort-based creatures. And one of my favorite things to talk about is that like we've really villainized discomfort as like a sign of like something bad or something negative. And it's like, no, 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 no. Anything new is uncomfortable. It could be the best thing in the world and it's going to be uncomfortable. And your brain's still going to be like, maybe we don't. Like, that's uncomfortable. And I have been kind of on this journey over the last year, year and a half, 2 years of just like, let me try a million new things. Like, let me be bad at things because that's something we don't do enough is like be okay at being bad at things. I personally am so bad at that. Like, I hate not feeling good at something. Like, it's an ego hit, and it's like something I've had to really work on is like, let's try these hobbies that we're actually like bad at and like make ourselves improve upon rather than just like choosing things that we have natural tendencies for. So I love that. I think that's such an amazing question to be like frequently asking ourselves because life is limitless in the things that we could do. It's actually insane. I know we like say that so lightheartedly, but I'm like, no, you literally can do whatever you want. Like you can do whatever
Mm,
you want.
I love that. Yeah, it's really, I mean, for anybody listening, no matter what season you're in, I mean, just that question can be so open-ended and curated toward you. It could be that somebody presents an opportunity to do something that you've never done before, and normally you'd be like, oh, that's not for me. I don't like that. Maybe it is this season. Maybe you should give it a try. You never know.
Yeah, and like you try it once and then say you hate it too, you never have to wonder about that again. Like
Mhm.
I think that's a really valuable lesson in and of itself that like is something to be grateful for. Like over the past couple years I have tried things that I hated. And I was like, I'm so glad I know I don't like that now. Like I don't have to worry about it again. Like I'm actually good. Like I know I don't like that. And what a beautiful lesson to learn about myself that I actually don't like that. And that's okay too.
Yeah, it's one of the things that's been a really big practice of mine is just this whole energy gauging of like whether I get on a connection call, whether I look at my calendar, it's like a little calendar review. It's in the book as well, but it's kind of reflecting back sooner rather than later on how much joy and revenue generating activity, because I gotta say that I'm a CFO, is in your calendar if you're a business
Hmm.
owner. And really just going back and being like, how did that feel? And so, did that give me energy? Did it take my energy? And that way, when an opportunity comes up again, I can protect my peace a little bit more. I can set those boundaries. And I think just getting better at saying no, even if you don't have a reason that feels justifiable, it doesn't matter. I
Hmm.
think we're all getting better at boundaries, at least the people that I've been talking to, but it's tough, right?
Hmm.
I don't know. It's one of those things that I think requires constant effort, and that's one thing that I feel I'm better at this season.
I love that. I think too, as like people who grew up as women, conditioned to be women, whatever, like we are also very programmed to just like do what we're supposed to do and like not say no just because we don't want to do it. Like that was so looked down upon as a child. And I'm like, it's been very fascinating. I have a lot of younger sisters. I'm the oldest of a bunch of younger sisters.
Mhm.
And so they're all like ranged from like older Gen Z to like younger Gen Z. And it's been so fascinating to even watch how different they've grown up and like how
Mhm.
willing they are to be like, yeah, no, I don't want to do that. Like, and I'm like, oh, like 17-year-old me wouldn't have said that. 17-year-old me would have just done that. Like, good for you. Like, that's so cool. Like, it's really cool to see this shift in just like listening to yourself and being like, no, I'm good. Like, that's fine. Or yes, like I want to do that and I don't need any reason to. I'm just gonna do it.
Yeah, I mean, how do you think I ended up in corporate for 15 years? It was because growing up, the story was if you want choices, you need to earn money. Money gives you choices, but it starts with a solid education and a stable job, and then you relocate like I did, and you work the weekends and you don't really feel that connected to it. You don't have the time to spend the money that you're making, and it just starts to dwindle down. And that was one of those things that, generationally it's different. I mean, that was kind of
Mm.
just a more common way to live, and so that's been passed down. But to see and hear kind of your experience as well is people becoming more vocal in how they want to live, and it doesn't really matter if that's the way that a parent or a mentor, might have envisioned it for you. It's their damn life.
Nope, truly. And also like and I'm like, we could make this a whole conversation as well. I'm curious to know if you've like kind of felt and discovered this as well. Is like you are always going to disappoint someone. Like I have done it all. I'm like I was someone's timid little Mormon wife at one point. Now I'm a lesbian who lives in giant cities. Like I have really walked different sides of the scale. And I'm always disappointing someone. Someone's always mad.
Mhm, mhm,
Whether that's right now, I'm like, I have a reel that goes viral every couple months, and it's always like Christian men that get on there and they're furious at my
mm,
existence. They're so mad. And I'm someone's always mad, but I'm not mad anymore. Like I'm happy. I feel good. And with time, other people see that and they support that and they come around if they weren't in the beginning. But it's like, yeah, you're always going to disappoint someone. So make sure it's not yourself because like
mhm.
this is your life. You get to decide what's next. You get to decide how you respond to things. And I feel like once you accept that someone will always be upset, no matter what, or displeased, it's so much easier to navigate big decisions because you're like, I just need to make sure that I'm good and that I'm making the right decisions.
Yeah, do you find, it's so interesting because I'd mentioned in corporate, I was very, just, yes, I was me, but I was playing a role. I didn't have any idea about like going inward, intuition, like nothing about feelings, energy, my cycle. Like none of these things were talked about,
Mm-hmm.
And when I went out on my own and I started doing more personal development and self-discovery and therapy and all kinds of things, that I was, looking for to really kind of shed away like who I really am, not necessarily try to add, but really get rid of the stuff that I'd picked up along the way, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get into that and you kind of go, oh my gosh, I have a lot of work to do. Sometimes I'm like, oh shit, where did all my personal development tools go? I thought I was past that. Why did I react that way? So I'm not saying that, but what it does give me and what I'm hearing in your voice as well as you share is we allow to see people a little bit differently and understand. You used a word pretty early on when we started talking about, is that a projection? Because that was my experience. And you start to look at people and say, oh, there is a projection. That is not about me. And
Mm-hmm.
therefore, I'm not going to carry it for you because it's not mine to carry. But that
Mm-hmm.
takes a lot of work. And that takes, just let people be who they are. Like, I don't want you to judge me for being who I am. And I'm not going to judge you for being who you are. We may just not sync up. We're not going to have a great conversation. No big deal.
Yeah. It's so not personal.
Hmm.
it
Yeah.
it's yeah, that's like been a huge kick I've been on lately of talking to friends and family about like if people don't like me because of like so and so reason and they most of the time you're going to find too it's like people that don't know you and I'm like I don't need to worry about someone not liking a version of me that doesn't exist. Like they've made up this version of me in their heads and like that's their thing to carry. Like that person doesn't even exist actually. They think it's me, but it's not. And it's such a powerful release. Not to say it's like a perfect practice. Obviously, it gets to you some days, but like,
Hmm.
um, yeah, it's always internal. It's a projection or it's a self discovery in themselves that they see in you, that they see in themselves, that they don't want to deal with yet, like whatever it may be. But it's like it's kind of none of your business. You can just be on your merry way.
And it's always, I find, humbling and also a really good lesson in practice to kind of always do like the mirror. Oh shit, why did
Mm-hmm.
I get irritated? This is something within me that I either haven't worked through or I do myself, or
Mm-hmm.
it's my ego, or it's anything like that. Like, why am I getting triggered by this situation or this person? And, it's I love personal development and I listen to a lot of podcasts and I do my rituals and all of these things. And sometimes like, fuck, I don't want to learn a thing today. Like I don't want to feel like I'm broken. I just want to exist and be and kind of go with that because it can be over consuming. It really
Mm-hmm.
can be to the point where we feel like something's wrong with us because we're always trying to fix ourselves. And
Mm-hmm.
so somewhere in the balance of all of that is peace. I'll let
Yeah.
you know when I find it, but
Yeah. Let me know when you find the line that you have to walk. Cause I'm like similar to you. I've done that journey where I like went too far and I had to take a break from self help books because I was like, girl, live your life. Like you need to actually like enjoy some of it rather than trying to improve.
yeah.
Uh, but what are you looking forward to now? So you're starting like I know you mentioned it's been like a year and a half, right? Since you made like such a big shift, but that's still very recent. What are you kind of looking forward to next as a person, as a business owner? Like, do you have plans? Are you taking it day by day? Like, what are things looking like right now for you down the pipeline, if you will?
Yeah, if I look kind of ahead, kind of reverse engineer the year, we just got through tax season. It's tax day today. It's April 15th, y'all. So hopefully you guys have your stuff done by the
Me
time we're
paying
recording this.
48 hours ago. I was like, time to do it.
And so getting on the other side of that season, we're looking forward to onboard some new clients. We have a variety of industries, but it's really the qualities of the business owner. And that's what I look for. When you start your business and you kind of just say yes to everything. Yeah, I can help you. Yeah, you can pay me for that. Even if it's not necessarily where you want to niche down. And I feel very intentional about the onboarding based on the business owner, their style, their approach, their commitment, their coachability, and so I'm excited to open the doors back up to onboard some new clients this summer. And then I mentioned I'm actually heading out to Spain on Monday.
Love. I'm so
Yeah, I've only
jealous.
been once, and it was so many years ago. And I went to Barcelona at the time, and now I'm going to Madrid, Canary Islands, and Seville. So yeah, that's travel's just like my love language. I love getting on a plane, the whole process of it. I love knowing my head's going to be laying on a pillow that's not mine, and I'm going to be eating at a restaurant that I've never been to. And I love to explore a city on foot. And so, I just get out there and walk and take it all in and listen. And a lot of times I'll have an earbud in my ear of like telling me directions. I'm like, oh, just listening to a podcast. Just don't mind me. I'm local. No,
Yep.
I stick out like a sore thumb, but I'm very excited for that. That's coming up. And then I think really just nurturing more of those connections that I mentioned. It was a year ago this month that I moved out. So
Oh my gosh.
that's, yeah, summer's coming. There's more travel. I even thought about moving, not necessarily, but spending a summer somewhere else, like literally
Mm-hmm.
packing up the dogs
Mm-hmm.
and going to even a beautiful Minnesota summer. I haven't
Mm-hmm.
lived there in 20 some years. I love Minnesota summers. Wouldn't stay much longer than that, to be honest, but that's just me.
Mm-hmm.
And just being open to kind of what might reveal itself, not trying to force
Mm.
anything.
I love that. I think that's I feel the same way about Utah, where I grew up. I'm like, couldn't do more than a summer there, but that's like something that's entered my brain as well. Of like, what would happen if I went back there for a few months and just like enjoyed a season I really loved there. But I love that you're putting yourself in new places, and I'm so excited for you to go to Madrid. I went a few years ago, and it's a stunning city. It's so unbelievable. It's so much fun. I did that in like the coast and then hopped over to Ibiza, and you're gonna love it. I'm like, it's such a magical part of Europe. I really loved it. So I'm so excited for you.
Gosh, I cannot. I cannot. It gets me super excited anytime. If my Delta app is empty, I am like depressed. I'm like,
Real.
get me something. I don't care how far out it is. I just need to see something on the app. So yeah, really pumped.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for you. Well, Bridget, thank you for coming on. I feel like we could have talked for hours. We could have like taken so many segues. We'll have to talk again.
Mhm.
It's been so lovely meeting you. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and so much wisdom on navigating. I know this went a completely different direction than us originally planning to talk on money, but I'm like, that's one of my favorite things about these conversations in this podcast is that we just kind of get to go where the wind takes us.
I love it. I totally agree. And I love the organic approach of it. It's just we went where we needed to go, whether
No,
we were guided
exactly.
or not. It happened. It's
hmm
perfect.
No, absolutely. Obviously, we will link everything in the show notes for those that want to find you online. But can you tell us where people can find you in your online world, where people can learn from you, all of that good stuff?
Yes, absolutely. Instagram is my where I hang out the most, and anything that I'm going to be putting out there is also on Instagram, and it's at Bridgette Boucher.
Perfect. And that will be in the show notes for you guys. Thank you so much again, Bridget. It was so lovely meeting you. I loved this conversation. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Oh, me too. I absolutely adore you. I'm excited to kind of like follow each other's journey as we
Same.
rebuild, right?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I'm like constant state of rebuilding. So, yeah. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing. And thank you guys for listening. And we will see you next time.